Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for a dynamic effort bench press day. But a quick reminder for those of you who watch these videos, please remember to click like down below, be greatly appreciated. So, in looking at the whole recovery theme, one of the things that I've realized, I probably only need one actual real heavy day of benching every week. Again, the way the benching's been going. And I'll probably stick with close grip benching or floor pressing for volume work. All right, it's probably what I'll do after my ME stuff. And I think on the speed days, I don't need to actually do benching because actually my bench was going up and I was just doing a higher rep lightweight McDonald bar. So I've decided to push the volume back up a bit on the dynamic work. All right, let's do 10 sets every week. And at 10 sets, I felt a ton of pectoral and front delt. Felt a ton of it. I'm getting sufficient activation there, and I think any extra growth I need will come from the actual bench day, right? The max effort bench day. So I can really focus more on delts, upper back, triceps, all that stuff a lot more. Because really at this point, when we watch my benching, my ability to use my lats to pop the close grip out of the bottom and my ability to use the triceps to lock it are what's going to keep building my bench. All right, we just hit a 365 that was real clean this week, close grip. All right, paused, heels flat, not a crazy arch. And I think that's the way I'm going to have to do it. It's just going to be brute strength, and it's all going to be tricep and front delt really as primary movers. And we're not saying the pecs don't get used on the close grip, but the way that I see it, because the other movements are the weak links, as long as they get bigger, my pecs will keep growing from the actual benching, right? It'll grow from the benching because it'll get more and more stimulus, more progressive overload that way. So that's going to be the game plan, and we're going to keep pushing the triceps hard. And now that I've built all that work capacity, now that I've built the tendons with all the band work, and I'm doing a little bit of band work, some on the off days here and there, just to keep those tendons healthy. But now I'm going to really push these big tricep movements. All right, we're going to push them more and more because once I started doing the JM press again, notice my bench shot up further. Okay, so we look at that and go, well, Skullcrushers will build the JM press also. All right, they'll build it as well. So we bumped these JM presses, the weight up a little bit. We worked with 5 sets of 10 with 135. All right, so I went up 10 pounds, 145 again, and I actually got like 11 or 12 reps on the 5th set. So again, building the triceps, finding these right levers where I can really hammer the triceps hard with these sort of movements, because I need the triceps to be strong out of the bottom too. So I do like some of these movements that are putting that stretch, but not a behind the head stretch. We're putting it into a stretch position this way, right? They do get stretched. People are talking about stretch position, but don't we get that on this? If you do the jam press right and the Skullcrusher right, there's a hell of a stretch at the bottom. It's dead weight, right? It's dead weight. And it's a little different from, say, a band press down or something, or even a rope press down in this case. But I like those, and if I need more and more lockout strength, I can rotate the band press downs back in at least one of the days. But now that the tendons are in a really good spot, I want to take advantage of that. And I want to use these movements that put that meat on the tricep through that full range of motion. That's going to really carry over to the benching. Bringing the rowing volume up. All right, so we did 5 sets of both of these types of rows today, all chest supported type stuff, but we got 2 quite different movements because we have the cambered bar, which is again all the way out on a seal row, and then the dumbbells we're pronated in further, or it's closer to supine. It's more of a hammer grip or a neutral grip, whereas in this is fully pronated. So working the back biceps to grip at these different angles, and this is all working well for grip. My grip is doing great. Like you guys noticed that deadlift this week, I just held it. My grip felt like I could have held it forever. There's no risk of it giving out. So I think grip is going to be in a very good place with all this pulling, and really the volume needs to be on triceps. I mean, actually, if you guys look at the volume research that came out, biceps, which again we've known already, don't do that well with really high volume. And for some reason, all these guys want to do tons and tons of it. Triceps respond to volume, high volumes better. They respond way better than biceps do. And, do we even care about biceps that much? I get it, but I need the brachialis, radiobrachialis, bicep, everything to grow together. So we do need to be looking at pronated type movements. And as long as we're getting sufficient volume, all that's going to grow, right? 20 sets of rows per week doing 2 different types. And that's the problem we run into. People say, well, this movement isn't the best for a muscle. But what happens when the volume goes up? You do enough of it, and the bicep is still a primary mover, it's going to have a different response than doing 5 sets a week and then stopping. Very, very different response. We're talking 20 sets of rows. And I think it matters, particularly for a muscle like that really the volume studies show that we don't really see any gains. Even these crazy volume studies, the biceps start capping around 20 sets. There's no benefit. There's no benefit beyond that. Triceps there can be. Again, if we accept these most recent studies, if we accept them. So, again, doing 2 different upper back movements. Keep building the lats, keep building the upper back. This builds delts and stuff too. Both of these build delts. All right, look at the data on it. So we're good there. We're good, at least for the rear and the side delt. And we get overlap on the side delt with that and the front raises and stuff. So with these, I may want to bump the weight a little on these dumbbell rows. May want to bump it. I just started doing them again, and this is starting to get pretty light. It's done as a second lift, so we can get away with less weight. But even in the last set, I was able to do like 13 reps per side, and I started with 10. So we do need to bump that weight, even though we're doing it as a second movement. Do need to get that progression there. But again, training the grip, training all the pulling muscles of the arm instead of the pushing, the extension. Training the whole back, whole middle and upper back, shoulder girdle. Both these movements, 2 different angles, were in a good spot. And then after that, I did plate front raises, and I decided to stop these about face level, because again, we look at my shoulder range of motion, people will point that out, and I'm like, well, I'm sorry, my shoulders just don't do that. I can't do anything about it. You combine the fact that my shoulders, kind of the way they're built, they don't like those positions. They won't physically do them. All right, for me to get my locked out overhead the way people would like to see, I have to go really wide on overhead pressing. Okay, number 1. Number 2, my elbow lockout, which again has been cleared. As I've had people say, oh, quit making excuses. No, it's been accepted in the USPA. They have clauses for this, for people with the situation. This is my elbow lockout for the most part. And again, people say, well, it looks different at certain, you're looking at it at certain angles. The judges who are seeing it from all angles, I have to clear every one with them. I have to unrack it and then re-rack it with the same lockout. So it really is my hard lock of the joint. And people will say, well, does that limit growth because of range of motion? No, because that's my full range of motion. Look, everyone's skeletons are slightly different. That's how mine is built. But because of some of that, my overhead is just, stuff looks really goofy. So I'm just like, let's just stop here. And you know what? I felt a ton of front delt. And this covers pecs also. People are not aware these front raises are a pectoral exercise. They're thinking, oh, it's a front delt. No, it works side delts, traps, upper traps. It definitely hits pecs. I mean, we've got good data showing a lot of pectoral activation. Like, it's one of the primary movers. You can deny that all you want, but, seems to show that way in studies. So we're getting some pec development, but mainly, for me, this is a front delt movement. Again, to complement the closed grip benching. And then we finish up with some skull crushers. And like I said, over the years, my opinion has changed on these. One thing I can tell you, the laying extensions that go way behind the head to get the stretch, further stretch on the long head and all that, they don't seem to carry over to my benching. these sort of movements do. Okay, either movements that are a hard lockout, like the band press downs, the JM presses, all that carry over. Well, this is similar to the JM press in that regard, so I should be seeing some bench carryover. And you know what? I was doing Skullcrusher type movements when my bench first hit 350 before my shoulder injury from pull-ups, which I don't do anymore. I don't just cut them out. I was even doing floor Skullcrushers, and we were seeing close grip bench press carryover. So there's a point where we have to go, look, this is what gives us carryover better, and this doesn't. We could argue just anything that builds the tricep should, but some stuff seems to do better than others. Definitely a trend I've noticed, and we can argue about the elbow health on Skullcrushers, and I think we should, but I've put a lot of work into building those tendons and elbow health. I'm in a good place. And I had someone chime in and say, well, you're not going to be in that place for long. Well, but it's easy to deal with. If I feel any minor inflammation, I just cut those movements out and go and add more band work, and it immediately goes away any time it's happened. But I think because I've done so much really high volume band work in the last couple months, we've done a ton of it, and we've seen my bench skyrocket. I think those elbows are in a very, very healthy place because they don't hurt. Those tendons don't hurt when I close grip bench either. For a little while, sometimes they were just slightly. And now I'm putting up the biggest numbers you guys have ever seen me put up on the close grip work. The biggest number since my 20s. And they feel good. So we've built those tendons very effectively at this point. I feel like they're in a good place. So we're going to keep hammering triceps. Triceps are going to be one of the highest priorities for my benching. All right, it's going to be one of the highest priorities, if not the highest priority. So I bench close grip, my triceps are always going to really determine how much weight I can move. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.